I'm Marlene Hutchinson, and welcome to Tips for Guitar Playing Success. As many of you know, I've been sharing my guitar playing tips every Thursday for more than 10 years. It's been my way to hopefully help you stay motivated, be inspired, and continue expanding your guitar playing journey. If you're interested in more learning resources, go to my website, marlenesmusic.com. And for anyone who's listening and feeling like you're missing out on all the guitar playing fun, you can easily get started with my super simple Learn to Play Guitar in a Day course. Now, on to today's tip. This podcast is brought to you in part by Gator. Whether you just need a bag to gig with on the weekends, or a frequent flyer needing a flight-friendly TSA Series case, or a dedicated road warrior bringing your instruments on tour, Gator has a solution for you. For the stuff you love, guard it with Gator. Today's tip is, have guitar, will travel. Ever wonder what it's like to hit the road with your trusty 6-string? Whether you're planning a cross-country road trip or jetting off to parts unknown, it's helpful to know the ins and outs of bringing your musical companion along for the ride. In today's episode, I'll take you on a journey through my first-hand experiences and my tips, tricks, and anecdotes from my adventures. As always, a big shout out this week and thank you to those of you listening in Canada, Zimbabwe, Puerto Rico, Romania, and Singapore. Don't forget, when you leave a positive review, I'll mention you in an upcoming episode. And if you listen on Apple, please leave a 5-star review so other guitar players can easily find this podcast. I've traveled near and far with my guitar. It's been by plane, automobile, a few times via golf cart, and once on a bicycle. Many people have asked me what it's like to take my guitar on a trip, particularly via airplane. In fact, during a recent trip to Hawaii, a man approached me in the airport terminal and said, "I've always wanted to take my guitar on my vacations, but I didn't think you could bring it on an airplane." So I shared with him much of what I'm going to share with you today. My own real-life traveling with my guitar experiences. Today, I'll mainly focus on air travel, but when traveling by car, here's my simple recommendation. Use a hard case for extra protection. Have a humidity pack in your case to manage weather fluctuations. And most importantly, don't leave your guitar locked up in a car for long periods of time. Think of it kind of like your pet. And if you'd like even more car road trip travel info, go to the episode on June 1st, 2023 called Road Trip Guitar Advice. As for flying, there are a couple of different considerations to keep in mind, namely airport security and guitar placement in the overhead compartment. I'll start with airport security, and this is of course pertinent when you've chosen to travel with your guitar as your carry-on. To clarify, when I travel, my guitar is my carry-on, and then I have one personal item, a small rolling bag. The guitar goes in the overhead compartment, and the small bag goes under the seat. My clothing always gets checked. I use a case that I can carry backpack style because it's easier when walking around the airport terminal. At airport security, simply place your guitar flat on the conveyor belt, string side up, and off it goes through the X-ray scan. Now, it might get pulled aside to be looked at, but it is unusual. I've traveled with my guitar through many airports, both large and small, and on hundreds of flights. And I've only had my guitar flagged for further inspection 3 times. That's hundreds of flights and only 3 times. Each time it was for something different, which I found interesting since I packed my case the same way every time. One time it was for the battery in my pickup system. One time it was because of the gel in my humidity pack, and the third time it was my string winder, all of which were deemed okay. And don't fret, ha, if that happens to you. I want you to know that on all 3 occasions, the TSA personnel were extremely respectful of my instrument. They handled it with lots of TLC. When they were done, I repacked my guitar and was on my way. And on a fun note, after my guitar passed inspection and before I left the TSA area, I asked them if they played guitar. If not, I let them know I could teach them. Hey, what can I say? It's what I do for a living. And if they already played, then we talked about musical tastes and playing styles. My tip for easily clearing airport security with a guitar is to give yourself extra time in case it gets pulled by TSA. It won't take them much time, but if you're cutting it close, you'll be stressed, and hey, it's way better to have extra time in the waiting area than to worry about getting to your gate before it closes. Plus, and I've done this, if you have extra time in the waiting area, consider playing your guitar. It's a great way to get in some extra practice, and the people around you will love it. They might even request a song or two. As far as your guitar going in the overhead compartment, it is allowed, but keep in mind normal carry-on fees, if any, will apply. Almost all airlines have large enough overhead space to accommodate your guitar case. The only exception I've experienced is on Hawaiian Airlines and a couple of small puddle jumpers. If the space isn't large enough or if the compartments are completely full, then they will ask you to check your guitar. Typically, it will be gate checked like a stroller. In a couple of rare instances, though, I have had to check it with the regular luggage. It's only happened a couple of times, and I prayed the entire flight that my guitar would be okay. By the way, there's a funny parody video about having to check a guitar called United Breaks Guitars. It's hilarious. The link is in the show notes. So, my overhead compartment tip is to travel with a case that is soft on the outside and hard shell on the inside. It's lighter in weight to carry around and a little more protective of your baby. You can use a gig bag, but be extra mindful of passengers adding their bags on or around your case. Not everyone has the same reverence for our beloved instrument. One time, a passenger on a flight boarded with a heavy hiker's backpack. He stopped near where I was, dropped his heavy backpack to the ground with a grunt, and then hoisted it up directly on top of my guitar case. As you can imagine, I kind of freaked out. He immediately apologized, moved it, and I'm happy to report my guitar was okay. Whew! But you just never know. So, soft outside case with a hard inside shell. If you do decide to check your guitar with your other baggage, always use a hard case. And a TSA-approved case, like the kind Gator Cases makes, is a really good idea. And here's some must-dos no matter what form of transportation you take. 1. Loosen your guitar strings a half step, especially when you're flying. There can be changes in cabin pressure, and by loosening the strings, you'll prevent any unnecessary stress on the neck and body. It's a good idea to do this when traveling by car too, especially for those higher elevation destinations. Number 2, use an in-the-case humidity system to help maintain the ideal conditions for your guitar. Lastly, when you get there, be mindful of the weather conditions. It may be different than where you and your guitar live. Typically, placing your guitar back in its case after a playing session with a humidity system will do the trick. So, whether you're going near or far, take your musical companion along for the ride. After all, have guitar, will travel. I hope this episode's tip has helped you to continue expanding your guitar playing skills and knowledge. If you'd like to learn more, please check out the many learning resources available at marlenesmusic.com. Thank you for joining today's podcast, and as I like to say, play on.